All right, we're back with our podcast. This is the Malapert Smart Wrestling Podcast. I got my co-host today is Vlad, wearing his Jim Cornette T-shirt. But listen,
Yeah.
it's only Vlad today. We have another friend, Robert, who sometimes comes on our show, but he's busy. He's got work in the morning. He's got to wake up. But listen, since you've been my esteemed colleague and a member of my panel and my expert, my wrestling expert, before we get into the week in wrestling that we're going to review, well, how about we get into just a quick story about how you got into wrestling? I know I've heard this story, but I like this story, so I'd hear it again. Talk about like your first memories, your first experiences. What exactly was the first time you watched wrestling, and how'd you get into it?
Wow, it's a surprise. I wasn't prepared for this.
I didn't want you to be prepared for it. I wanted it to come out kind of naturally. Take your time, if you need the time to pause and think about it, that's good, because all of our pauses get cut out of the final edit. So it's always better if you want to just sit, think, and it's not dead air. It's not silence. So
I gotcha. From what I remember, I don't know, did I share a story with you about how I started watching wrestling? I don't remember that story.
I remember it. I'll listen to it again, and I'll tell you if it's how I remember it.
From what I remember, I started watching wrestling in the 90s, early 90s. As a kid, just like it being on TV, I noticed like the Saturday night shows, like the Saturday morning shows that they would used to show up all the time.
Saturday morning was what?
Yeah, that was WWF.
What the heck were they doing on Saturday morning? They were doing like their B show or something like that?
No, well, probably this was before Raw, probably even, because Raw debuted in '93.
So you were 4 years old, because you were born in '89, right? So you were 4 years old watching
I must have been,
WWF.
like, even younger, because I just remember like them showing like all these video packages and like backstage stuff. I mean, I didn't understand a lot of it, what was going on, but when they showed the matches, I was like interested in. My dad was not really a big fan though. He just thought it was like fake stuff and he didn't get it. But I don't know, just as a kid, I just kind of liked it. And then as I was only a WWE, WWF, whatever guy, but then like maybe around 94, 95, I discovered WCW as well. So like I only watched WWF at that time, but then like around 95, I saw like a Saturday night, TBS Saturday night show, the famous 305 TBS show. Well, I guess 605 in the East Coast, but you know what I mean.
Oh, so that's where that comes from. Why did it start at 3:05? What was that all about? Do you know?
It had something to do with, I don't even know, but I think that's where it comes from. I could be wrong. I don't really know, but I think that's where the 605 comes from. But yes, that's how I saw a Four Horsemen match, or Arn Anderson, Ric Flair teaming up with somebody against somebody, which I can't remember. I was like, wow, this is kind of good. Like, why don't I just watch another company, as well? So, I knew that it was separate. Like, I knew this was not related to WWF, even as like in '95 when I was just like 8 or whatever. I knew that these two things were not these were not the same company. You could see the wrestling styles were totally different.
So you went through a few years where you thought WWF was the only wrestling around. You just didn't.
I didn't know anything else but WWF. That was the only thing that was I knew about.
You just didn't bump into it. You were just flipping channels one day. And you were like, "What the hell? Here's some other wrestling."
I must have somehow just been flipping channels. Yeah, and there it is. There was WCW Saturday Night. I don't know what attracted me to it, but the theme for Saturday Night WCW was amazing.
Oh, I have no clue what it is.
That's one.
I'll look it up after the show.
It was so good, but I think that's what attracted me to it. But then, like I said, also just seeing. I think I knew who Ric Flair was for some reason, though. Maybe I saw him even as a kid, maybe in WWF when he was there for briefly.
But when did you really get into it? Like
but when I really got into it was 96, 97, 98, like when it really became more mainstream and really good, right? The beginning of the Attitude Era with the NWO stuff, basically when both companies were hot or about to get hot. Or my favorite wrestling year of all time is 1997. I think I've told you that story maybe before. I told you that year before. 1997 was just a great year for wrestling for both of the major companies. I didn't really watch a lot of ECW, but I think people would say that it's probably pretty good there too. But just as in general, the two main companies just being at an elite level of wrestling, I would say, you got a little bit of everything,
So you got into it right before like the NWO.
Yeah, I was watching even prior to that. I was watching 95, 96, when things were kind of not in a great place, I would say. If you're looking back on it, but we didn't know what it meant when WWE was introduced, but man, that changed wrestling history for sure. That because both companies were just kind of doing kind of lame things. Looking back on it, Hogan was in WCW at that point, but nobody was really ridiculous. Dungeon of Doom stuff. Nothing really exciting was going on.
But WWF was kind of good, though. I mean, they had that whole thing with Brett and Stone Cold and The Undertaker,
right,
Mankind.
Yeah, they did, but that was already when it became good, like mid-'96. But when I was watching 95 or 94 or whatever, they hadn't reached that point yet. Yes, they still had a lot of good wrestlers, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. They had a lot of interesting characters. They were more known to me at that time, but guys that I kind of knew. But obviously I knew who Hulk Hogan was, and I knew who Randy Savage was, and I knew Ric Flair. So that right away made me interested in WCW as well. But that basically I don't know if this follows the story that I told you, because I can't even remember the story I told you, but that...
The Saturday morning show that you bumped into, yes, I remember you telling me that. I kind of figured that it would be later, though. Didn't think you started so early. You were just watching it, like, just kind of casually. You weren't really, like... Were you following the storylines?
I think I quickly did. I knew the Horsemen were the heels. I could see that easily because they were cheating. They cheat every time they, to win a match. So I got that. I mean, that was the big thing, I think, at the time, like the Horsemen. And then, like, Hogan would come on, and, he was battling with the Dungeon of Doom in 95 and then into early 96. Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, mine was in 97. So I was 9 years old. I was not watching before that. I had no clue what was going on. When I started watching, the NWO was already full tilt, kicking everyone's ass.
I mean, if your first year of wrestling was 1997, you came in at an amazing...
Yeah. I literally didn't see how Hogan turned heel or the NWO formed. When I started, they were already just beating people at the end of the show. Every show was ending with them spray painting somebody and just laughing at them. And that was the first...
When Hogan turned heel, that's a story in itself. That could be just our podcast just of Hogan when Hogan turned heel and how good that whole thing was. But yeah, a story for another time maybe.
But yeah, these were the first guys I remember. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, DDP, and then Sting had that whole thing where he was fighting the NWO from the rafters.
And you were watching both shows, right? You were watching WWF and WCW.
I was watching both shows in 97, and then in 98, I took a side. I don't know why, but I chose WCW because I felt like WCW was better, and I stuck with them till the ship sank. I was a little kid, But honestly, I also had...
I think you must have still been watching WWF too, because I remember you sending me in 98, because I remember you sending me, like, you had, like, a recorded Tyson and Austin thing, which was a big thing. I remember that being a huge deal. I mean, that pretty much, I think, won the war, basically, for WWF. When they brought in Tyson, I remember even you were interested, because I think everybody was interested in Tyson at the time, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, of course. At that point, Tyson was very important. That Tyson segment, everyone loved it because my dad, my parents, and my brother were big Tyson fans.
Charge my iPad. Give me a second.
That's cool. Go ahead. Oh, nice TV.
Trying to see where I could put this now while it's charging. Maybe this way. As long as you can see me, I guess that's all that matters.
I can see you, Vlad. You look good. But the Tyson segment, yeah, that was the point where I was still watching WWF. But the thing I didn't like was... Okay, I think it was more 99 when I chose this, because Triple H was just on for every single show, talking so much, opening... That's the start of the era of just long promos, and people just... The point of him was just to annoy people. He would come out and talk so much that everyone would just hate him because he talked for 20 minutes and bored everybody. And then The Rock, I just didn't get The Rock, man. And I still don't understand The Rock. I don't get why people... I've seen every WWF show, like, retrospectively, since
I really don't understand why.
I've seen every freaking Rock promo. I'm like an authority on The Rock. And honestly, it was just repetitive. Every promo was pretty much exactly the same. There were a few segments that were, interesting and unique, like, This Is Your Life and, Pie and all that. But most of it was just the same thing, and I didn't like him. I just didn't like him. So I didn't watch WWF. I didn't think it was that special. But yeah, that was kind of the time where they took off and WCW just started sucking. So I chose the wrong side. I stuck with WCW, but I went back later on and I caught a hold of all those tapes and kind of watched them as an adult. And I don't know. I didn't think it was that great. I think the war was won with Stone Cold and Vince. And after that, WCW just fell apart. They could have done almost anything and pretty much won.
Yeah, I think once Stone Cold became the champion and after WrestleMania in '98, it was pretty much over. Like, they had won because he was beyond popular at that point. Like, his popularity, he's one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. I mean, the crowd reactions that he got were insane.
All right. Well, that was a fun little trip down memory lane. At least it's get to know us a little better. If anyone's actually listening to this freaking podcast. I mean, there are some numbers that say some people actually bump into it. So there's Vlad. He's my co-host. He's been my friend since we were kids. We would talk about this stuff a lot ever since we were kids. And then there were periods where we stopped watching wrestling. We went to college. We were just doing other stuff. And then we got back into it with Hogan going to TNA. That seemed interesting. And then we stuck with that for a couple years. And then it kind of fell apart there, too. Right. And then kind of fell out of wrestling again for a few years. And then AEW got us back in because we were just not going to watch WWE by itself. Like, with no competition, they just don't really even try. They just send people out for long promos, and they don't really give the fans what they want. They have it too good, really, I think. They don't have to give the fans what they want. People will come regardless. So let's move along with our show. Let's go through the week. This is what we usually do. We go through the past week of everything that we haven't talked about since our last show. In our last show, we talked about Dynamite from last week. So WWE had Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Yeah. And let's talk about the men's ladder match, which Damian Priest won, which was me and you and Robert's prediction. Kind of predictable. Kind of a good choice. It's not bad. He's got that thing with Finn Balor and Judgment Day where it's a little bit of a power struggle. They both want to be champion. But the real story at the Money in the Bank was LA Knight. Because he keeps getting these ridiculous, huge pops. And people want to push him over so bad. But I have a question for you, Vlad, and this is a tough question for you, Vlad, and this is a tough question. If you need take a second to think about it. But we're at the point where we have to ask ourselves, well, not we, but WWE, the brass, they have to look into this seriously. Does LA Knight have potential to be a megastar? A megastar, a main eventer at WrestleMania?
Yeah, I mean, I think he does, based on what I see. He's he's charismatic. He's good on the mic. He's a good worker. So check boxes. He fills all the check boxes. Now, some are saying, oh, well, he's older or whatever have you. But so what? So what that he's a little bit older? He's not even that old. I mean, in wrestling terms, he looks great. He's in great physical shape. He cuts great promos. And the most important thing, the crowd goes crazy when he's on, when he's in the ring, when he comes on, when his music plays. They go crazy for his catchphrases, Well, I can't even do the correctly, but, Yeah.
I love his theme song, dude. His theme song is so cool. I'd be listening to that in the car. Well, okay. Well, the reason I asked it like that,
I say yes, he could be, because why not? Just go with, if somebody's hot, you should take advantage of it, especially if a guy can work and he's reliable, and this guy seems like he's reliable, and he'd be a good spokesman for their company, like if they ever wanted to push him to the moon. But it doesn't seem like they actually do, but I'm saying they should, based on the reaction that he's getting.
You're saying they should always push the guy that the fans are going crazy for?
Well, to an extent, yes, they should. I mean, especially if they're reliable, they can work, they can talk, they're not crazy, they're not insane. They're guys that they push that are, in the past, let's say in wrestling history, that are unpredictable, they're not reliable, they're drugged up, they're roided up, they're on whatever. I don't think this guy has that problem. I mean, I don't think anybody in wrestling currently has that problem. So I think, why not? Why not? Why not push him? I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. I mean, maybe not right away to the championship, but maybe eventually. Can he at least take Seth Rollins title?
I was gonna say at least an intercontinental title or something like that.
Okay, start with the Intercontinental. But I'm just saying, like, couldn't the goal for now be to at least be the Raw champion, I guess? Even though I think he's on SmackDown, but whatever. They need to do away with that silly stuff, Raw, SmackDown draft, whatever.
Yeah, I know that's the only thing that's kind of keeping AEW in the game right now, because otherwise it would be a total domination by WWE, excuse me. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have an answer to that question. You know, of LA Knight becoming a true
Well, I mean,
star.
I know you're a fan of his, right?
I am a fan of his, but I started thinking about it today because I started thinking, like, the fans are going nuts for him, but
Right.
what has he really done to, like, prove to us that he could carry a match, a big time match? Maybe they just don't think he could really do that. I don't know, you know? So
I mean, from the work I've seen him do, he's had pretty good matches. Now, as far as big matches, I mean, he hasn't been in that many big matches. Is the problem, you know. But I'm sure he'll do fine. I think he's a pretty reliable worker. He can work. From what I've seen, he can work. So
yeah, well, he had his fingertips on that briefcase, even like almost clipped it open, and before he got pushed off by somebody. So that was cool. But I have this feeling because I saw a tape of him at the house show they did after Money in the Bank, and they let him cut a promo, and he was starting to turn on the fans. He was like, you know, I don't need anybody. I've done this all on my own. I don't even need you guys. And the fans kind of groaned. It was like, whoa. I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know about turning on the fans like that, even as a heel. So maybe I'm kind of thinking maybe the WWE brass are telling him to do that just so he could stop getting so over, because he's kind of ruining their deal. Maybe they don't want him to they don't want to push him. They're like, dude, you gotta get them to back off. Talk shit to them.
You know, I'm not saying he's on like Brian Danielson's level, but I remember wasn't there like a thing similar, like Danielson was getting crazy over?
Well, yeah, because of yes, that became like a big giant thing.
Yeah, he just was really over for a stretch, and they didn't want to push him either. They wanted the old guards to, you know, Orton, Batista, whoever, to be the guys. But, you know, eventually they had to kind of give in because, you know. But anyways, maybe it's not the same situation here, but I don't know. I like LA Knight, and I think he's a great personality. Maybe, you know, test it out, I would say. Maybe not right away where he's the main man, but, you know, slowly develop it. But, you know, they had him losing every match for a while on SmackDown. I mean, that's going the opposite way completely. I mean, I didn't understand that at all. This guy shouldn't be losing like that. Like, you know.
Yeah,
I understand
well,
they have a mid card, but come on.
I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to give him a little bit of a chance to show what he's got, but I think a lot of people could possibly be enamored with him just because he's a little bit of a throwback to the era that we used to watch. He seems like that type of guy. Like, he would fit in, slip him into 98, and he would be right there, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing. That
is a good thing.
The better workers. Those are considered.
But is it just because he's a guy that seems like it could fit into 1998? Does that mean he's a top star? You know, like
Well, I don't know if he's a top star. I think that's to be decided, and it's also It's also depending on how he's booked and what they do with him. It's not all dependent on him, but I think as far as everything that he's done, I believe he can do it. It's just, will they give him the material and the opportunity to do it is the question.
All right, let's move along. So the rest of Money in the Bank, we had the women's match, which was won by Io Sky, which we also, all three of us, predicted. That's fine. I don't have really much else to say about that match. I thought it was good.
For what those type of matches are, I would say they're pretty. You know, it was pretty good.
Well, the thing with the Trish and Zoe and Becky, I think is pretty funny. I think that all that stuff is working out pretty good. I think that whole feud is going well on Raw and everything. We're not really going to discuss it much, but I don't mind that. Not bad at all. Anyways, and then there was the Bloodline Civil War, which was won clean by the Usos. So Roman put his cousins over.
Yeah, gave them a win.
Gave them a nice...
In a good match. In a really fun match.
Yeah, it was a good match. That was cool. That was really cool, too. It was... Overall, those were the only things that I would mention from the show. There was Cody and Dominik, which was what we expected. It was fine. It was good, but, nothing.
It was fine. It was good. I would have liked to see... I think we discussed it, prior. Not that Dominik to win, but, at least for Lesnar to help Dominik win indirectly, by just interfering and just like costing Cody. I would have liked to see that instead of him coming out on Raw and them just having a brawl the next night. Why not just have him do it at a big time premium live event? I don't know. That's only, and plus I think the Judgment Day lose a lot. I think that's another problem that I have. Like, they're supposed to be this like top heel faction, but they're constantly getting beat. To me,
except Rhea.
Except for Rhea. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
but
that's true. I mean, they could have done with something there, but they ended up just beating him clean. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't really. Cornette
loses. Priest constantly loses. I know he won the Money in the Bank, but prior to that, he was always losing matches. And and Dominik obviously is always losing big matches, big premium live event matches. Yeah,
but Cornette would say that Dominik losing never hurts him because people just hate him regardless. Okay. So he's not going to lose heat.
He's not going to lose his heat, that's for sure. He's got the ultimate heat right now.
All right, let's move on. So the next day was not the next day. It was the same day, Collision, which was you were at my house for this.
Yes.
we're pretty exhausted after we watched Money in the Bank.
At that point, yeah, that's right. Because it was an afternoon show, and then now we're watching Collision, which is a 5:00 show. So a lot of wrestling without breaks, pretty much.
Yeah. So let's move on. We got to quickly talk about that. MJF had an appearance. First appearance on Collision. He fought a jobber, beat him, and then they were in Ontario, right? Ontario, Canada, and
I forgot the city in Canada. It might have been Ontario. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, I don't remember what city it was, to be honest, but I think it was somewhere near Ontario. And MJF,
it was wherever Ethan Page is from, because he came out.
Exactly, and he cut a decent promo, a serious promo, and they had a match. So it was a decent rub for Ethan Page, kind of out of nowhere. I thought it was nice, but it was like, in the end, it didn't really matter. Because they
don't do anything with it, it doesn't matter. If it was just for the show, because he's in Canada, because it's his hometown, it's kind of bullshit, to be honest. But, like, if this guy's capable of, that's pretty good work, why have him do the funnies and not some serious wrestling angle? I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it doesn't deserve it. But like, what sense does that make? This guy is capable of. I think obviously I'm a big Cornette fan. I think Brian Last is a big proponent of Ethan Page, saying that he is capable of so much more. They just refuse to do it. Yeah, I agree. He clearly is capable of a lot more based on just this one promo. Now, yeah, there was some criticisms of the promo that they had, but overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's decent analysis. We're the Malapert Smarks. We'll tell you if it's good or not. It was good. It was a fine promo. He can speak. He can talk. They just got to come up with something for him. All these guys from the past, all our heroes from the past, Scott Hall and everybody, they had something to work with. These guys don't really have much to work with. So I can't blame Ethan Page for this. I'll blame the booking.
I mean, he's with the Hardys. I mean, it's just awful. It's awful. Anyways, okay.
All right, so he fought MJF and lost, but got a decent rub. It was competitive. The main event was Roderick Strong and Samoa Joe, with the winner to face off against CM Punk. Joe won, and then they did an angle where they, sent Roderick Strong to the hospital with not really much. Honestly, I wasn't really into it. And it was okay, but the thing some wrestling pundits would say is that they've already killed the business so bad with that, doing every single move in the book, that doing an angle where he got sent to the hospital with nothing really that crazy is like, well, we just saw 10 people go through like tables and stuff like that, going off the top rope, doing crazy flips. What is this? This is fake, obviously. So I didn't think it really smacked that good, but that's just me.
Absolutely true, but that's just a bigger overall problem.
Yeah, it is. It's when someone wants to do something serious on this show, it kind of just doesn't feel serious.
Yeah, serious, realistic. Like, yeah, technically, if somebody actually drove your head into a steel chair, you might actually have some serious neck problems. But when you see some guys, I don't even know, name something crazy that somebody's done, whatever. You don't even have to name it, but just like think of any AEW show where they did some wild stuff, and people just get right back up from it, and they're A-okay, right? So
But this is supposed to be the show Collision, where things are more realistic and more, more logical. But can does it make sense if you have you're in the same company, and then on Wednesday, and then some things from Wednesday are leaking into Collision?
Yes.
So is there really a separation? There was supposed to be a little bit of a separation, but really I guess it's just somewhere Punk can go to be away from the elite, supposedly. I guess.
And obviously, you know how I feel. I don't think there should be a separation. I think there should be. They should all be one. They should all be on both shows. If there's going to be 2 shows, they all should be there. But on the other hand, I don't really want to see the elite, so that's fine. I mean, I don't want to see them twice a week. Once a week is enough.
Well, this is the 3rd episode of Collision. I know it was a few days ago, but are you starting to get kind of tired of it? I mean, it's kind of starting to feel like too much wrestling to me. 2 hours on Wednesday, 2 hours on Saturday. Not wrestling, but I mean too much AEW wrestling. They're not really even using their time that well. I mean, I don't know what else was on this show. It was like Powerhouse Hobbs against Dustin Rhodes. I don't know. It just not a lot of it wasn't really too necessary to watch. So
I mean, yes, I think it's just the fact that there's so much wrestling it's tiring. But am I tired of Collision itself? I just want it to be a little bit hotter. I wanted it to come out. Now, maybe it's best this way. I'm not like a booker, but, well, neither is Tony Khan, so, so at the same time, so take that however you want. But at the same time, I don't know, I just want it to be a little, the angles to be a little bit hotter. There's not, I mean, I get to, I guess the old school guys are going to say, oh, yeah, the work is good, the work is good. Even Cornette, the work is good, the work is good. Okay, yeah, the work is good, but if the matches are kind of meaningless, who cares? I've always been that way, too. The work is good. Yeah, I agree. The work was good. I mean, I just think that they are, as far as the one thing that wasn't really meaningless is the Joe and Punk thing, because that is an angle that they are building, it looks like. But fine. But everything else in that stuff is not really that interesting and that exciting, so I don't know.
Isn't that what these guys have been clamoring for? The Cornette side of wrestling pundits is that you have to have a show where basically most of it's kind of boring, so that when something actually good happens, it registers with people, right? Is that not what it is basically, or am I kind of oversimplifying?
Well, when you watch the old territory shows, weekly shows, they were kind of like that. There would be a lot of weeks or a lot of segments where nothing really happened, but then there would be 1 or 2 moments within a show, or maybe not even, or maybe just one great moment within a couple of shows, where something amazing happens, right? Something like a hot angle just pops up out of nowhere. That's how they had to do it, because they couldn't give it all away in 1 week. It was a build-up, so they had to do it that way. I guess I'm just now, because I grew up in the 90s and the way the attitude there was, how everything was hot for so long. Maybe my brain is, not wired that way, where I can handle this slow build and weekly wrestling. That's good, but nothing interesting happens for months, possibly. I don't know if I could do it. I think you got to start off hot, and then maybe you could cool off a little bit later, especially when you're a new show and you're trying to introduce this kind of like a sports-based product, sports, where it's actually athletic and or more realistic. I don't know. That's what I've started a little bit hotter than.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it started off too slow, and if you're gonna wait for that one moment where okay, so nobody stole the show. Everyone did their job in the undercards. Nobody tried to do something that would steal the show. And, okay, but then there has to be that moment at the end. And, I don't feel like we're getting that. We're not getting something that's okay, damn, that was so crazy. That made it worth it to watch that whole show,
Right.
So I didn't get that from this Collision. So, anyways, I did get that from 2 nights later on Raw, which... where they had Natalya finally face Rhea Ripley, the third. So good. Finally, they faced off, and yes, damn, that was a really great match. I'll give them that. I think they did really good here, and Natalya, it made sense because she started off before the bell rang attacking Rhea, so it gave her a little bit of an advantage. Kind of made sense for her to kind of be in the match. Even got her in the sharpshooter, made Rhea crawl all the way to the ropes. That was a great moment. And they didn't really do anything too crazy. They didn't have to flip or do anything wild, which we talked about this match.
Oh yeah, sorry. You talk first, and then I'll just.
No, no, no. I mean, I'm just kind of gushing over it. I mean, finally,
Yeah.
if there's something good in wrestling, we could at least give it some dap, right?
Yeah. This was great. This was like not just the work, but like just the physicality of it. It was intense. It seemed like a fight. It was kind of an old school match, I would say. Like this was great. I was just captivated. And I'm watching Raw, and I'm forwarding through most of this stuff because Raw is 3 hours, and a lot of the stuff is not interesting to me. So I always have my hand on the clicker. But as soon as this match started, I was into it from the beginning, and man, they put on such a great show. It was a great match. The work was amazing. Both ladies did an amazing job.
Yeah, so that's the point I was making about the Collision show. I'm like, okay, so most of Raw was kind of boring, nothing really special. It was okay, but at least there was something in there that I remember. Something in there that made me remember and go back and go, damn, that was good. So now I'm not so mad about having to watch all that other stuff. Anyways, so unless you have anything to say about that, we got some more stuff to talk about.
I think as most wrestlers, people that have seen that match and reviewed it, they all say the same thing. I mean, that match was just great, and there's not really much left to say. They did an incredible job. Both ladies should get an applause, for the work they did. I mean,
it could be a match of the year candidate. It probably won't win match of the year, but I think the way they set it up was nice. The way, because you were kind of mad at the pay-per-view, and what was it? And was it the Saudi Arabian pay-per-view where they didn't actually?
Yeah, I'm gonna say so.
Yeah, it was like a quick match because Rhea kind of hit her before the match, so she just it was a squash. And then they had another one where it didn't even start. Rhea beat her up before the match, couldn't even start it, and everyone's like, "What's going on here?" But I think that whole build up to this match, to the third time they were going to meet, was perfect. I think that was really good. I think.
Well, yeah, and there's been some stuff like with Natalya questioning like if she still got it. I think it was all pretty good.
Yeah, this did a lot for both of them.
Yeah, I think it did. Well, I think it did more for Rhea because I think that's who they're pushing. But man, Natalya can really put people over quite well. I mean, she is a great worker. Hands off to her because she did a great job.
Yeah, I'll take my hands off for her. Is that what you said? I thought you say hats off or hands off. Anyway,
I wanted to say hats off, but probably said hands. Who knows? What time is it? I probably should be in bed.
All right. Well, we only got Dynamite left to talk about, so
no problem.
Let's just
talk.
Well, let's just go through this real quick. No, we don't have to go through in detail. Our era of in-depth Dynamite reviews is over. Honestly, I'm gonna treat Dynamite as just one of these other shows now because is it the B show of AEW or what?
I think it's still the A show because it still gets their best ratings, but I think
that's true. That's true. They're still beating Collision in the ratings. I think last I saw it was like 800,000 to 600,000, something like that.
Yeah, but the fact that I would still say it's the A show.
Well, what if you put the Collision show on Wednesday nights, and you put what's on Dynamite on Saturday nights? Then Collision, I think, would get way more ratings, right?
I think so. I think it might even hit over 1 million.
Yes.
Consistently, right? Exactly, because it seems like the people that are watching Collision, based on so far the ratings that I've seen, like they kind of stay with the show. But throughout Dynamite, people that are initially watching, like they leave in droves. So
yeah.
That seems to be the thing.
Well, listen. I'm going to be the first one here to say that I think this blind eliminator tag team draws are rigged. I'm starting to get this feeling.
Oh, you think?
Because right when the show starts, they smack us in the face with Keith Lee and Swerve are going to be teaming tonight because of the blind eliminator draw. I'm like, get out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here. They already had Adam Cole and MJF teaming up randomly. And then Darby and Orange Cassidy get on a team together. They're already a team. Like they're basically
they've already teamed like numerous.
So it's like, what are the this should basically be called whoever Tony Khan wants to book in random tag teams because that's what it is. So Keith Lee and Swerve against Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy opened the show, and as we expected, Keith Lee and Swerve didn't really get along. They hit each other by accident a few times. Darby, I think, put in some good work with Keith Lee. I think that could be an interesting feud if they ever really wanted to do something like that. I mean, I think they could work well together in the ring. I don't know about the feud. But Darby Allin was trying to like motivate Keith Lee before the match, telling him, hey, I know you don't like Swerve, but do this for yourself. And then he slapped him. So there was some things here. They were trying. I just think the whole blind eliminator draw kind of killed it for me. Because right when the show started, I'm like, man, get out of here. What are the odds of all these people getting drawn together? So, I don't know. You got any thoughts about that match?
No, not really. No, no. I mean, I forwarded a lot of this match. I didn't really care about this
because Orange Cassidy's involved.
Yeah, and I don't really care about Keith Lee or Swerve either. Not that I hate them or anything, but I'm not interested in anything they got going. So yeah, that pretty much this was a forward match for sure.
Okay then. All right. So moving along, MJF and Adam Cole had their work. They were working out together. There were cameras there to watch them, and MJF he saw a fat guy and he started making fun of him, right? And Adam Cole was like, "Oh, don't say that, man. That's not funny." But then they had a moment where they kind of bonded because they said, "Oh, you know who he reminds me of? Tony Schiavone," and they both said it at the same time, right? And then Adam Cole had this weird look on his face, like, what the hell? We're actually kind of sort of hitting it off, So anyways, I have a thought that I think, well, I've heard this bandied around that Adam Cole is going to turn heel.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I'm going to say this is all cool. But if this is all just a fucking build up to them having another match or like a title match, then I'm going to say this was whatever. So I'm going to have to wait and see where this is going before I really give a full evaluation. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the video package was whatever. It was kind of funny, especially when MJF was stunned when Adam Cole was lifting weights like that. He was like,
yeah, but they didn't actually show him like.
Yeah, because it probably wasn't him. It wasn't probably him. They had to have somebody else.
Or they took off the weights, like they didn't show the end of the weights that they were actually all there, So that was a little funky. But
there's no way this guy could lift whatever the heck he's lifting. Yeah, but anyways, I think it's going to lead to a match with them and not Cole turning heel is my guess because MJF needs people to feud with, and I don't think they want to take Adam Cole off the board and have him like join MJF as a group or as just another heel separate to MJF. But yeah, I think it's going to lead to a match, but we'll see.
Dude, I think the way I would book it is MJF just they just become friends. They become real actual friends, and Adam Cole becomes like his guy, like his best friend. And he kind of just comes out with them every single match and is there to help him cheat when he has to. That's how I would book it. Just have him be not his sidekick, but his boy, his friend, and help him keep the title. I don't know why. I really can't. I don't know if I'd be able to explain why that well. But why is he even hanging out with them right now? Then they can't really explain that at all. So I'm kind of feeling like he's gonna turn heel. I'm kind of feeling like that's what they're gonna do. Because otherwise, why would they fucking be doing this? Doesn't make any sense. Anyways,
hey, who knows?
I'm gonna move on. Later on in the show, there was a CM Punk and Samoa Joe package with some clips from their past. So that's not bad, okay? But that match is gonna happen on Collision, I guess.
Yeah.
So then they had a backstage where Roderick Strong was in the back, and he's coming off his injury, but it's not that bad. He's okay, I guess. And then Adam Cole comes in, and Roderick Strong is kind of like thinking something's up with him and MJF. And Adam Cole's like, no, nothing's up. Don't worry, I got this under control. But there's like a thing there, you know what I mean? So
sure.
We'll see how that pans out. So then they had their match, Adam Cole and MJF against the Butcher and Daddy Magic. Okay, finally, a random ass tag team. That's what this whole tournament was supposed to be. But so MJF got Adam Cole to help him cheat on an abdominal stretch. He helped him get some leverage from the ropes, which I thought was a nice, funny little thing. What else? MJF got the hot tag to Adam Cole later in the match, and he was like kind of getting cornered. And at that point, Adam Cole never tagged MJF back in, although MJF wanted to come back in and do the double clothesline, right? That's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But instead, Adam Cole just got the pin on his own, and then after the match, MJF had a birthday cake celebration for Adam Cole. So why no one knew it was Adam Cole's birthday. I don't know. Maybe if they said it on the broadcast, I missed it. But
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so that happened, and then Adam Cole accidentally flung MJF into the cake because I guess MJF was kind of snuck up behind him, and he thought this was the part where he was going to hit him, right? And then he grabbed him and flung him into the cake, and then MJF was still not even mad at that.
Yeah, well, I think it was supposed to be like, playful. Like, I'm going to put his head in, like, MJF was like, I'm going to put his head in, like, watch this, guys. Like, more like as a joke than, like, he's actually, like, attacking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, Cole thought he was attacking him, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
Cole thought. Cole may have thought, but whatever, yeah.
All right, so they had a lot of silliness.
There's a lot of silliness, I don't know how to feel about all this, but we'll see.
All right, so then they had the women's Owen Hart Cup. Ruby Soho beat Britt Baker with help from her friends, the Outcasts. They once again used that leverage spot twice in one night. So that was pretty cool, though, how they were both outside of the ring. And both Toni Storm and Saraya helped pull on Ruby while she was doing the pinfall. So I thought they did that well. That was a good ending. I don't really have much to say about the match other than Britt Baker.
It was solid. It was okay.
It was
nothing too bad. I can't say anything bad about it.
All that came from it is that there'll be a new champion of the women's tournament because Britt Baker's out and she won last year, and I guess she's going to keep feuding with the Outcasts. So that's not over yet. So it seems. Anyways, we had our main event. It was Kenny Omega versus Wheeler Yuta. So they gave these guys the last.
You almost called him useless, but it's okay.
Well, I don't think he's useless. I don't think he's that bad. I just think he's not used well. I think
he's not. Well, boy, oh boy, where else would he be used in a main event of a show?
That's what I'm saying. He shouldn't be the main event. That's not using him well, dude.
I got you.
I think he'd be fine if he was just like, on Ring of Honor doing the Pure title or at the undercards or something. I don't know. So I didn't. Yeah, this match didn't really grab me at all. When they said, "Hey, here's the headline tonight," outside of the stadium, it goes Kenny Omega versus Wheeler Yuta. I'm like, I'm not buying a ticket to see that.
Of course. I was very not upset, but like kind of underwhelmed when I saw that this was the main event of the night. But
I mean, they are in that feud together. Their stables are feuding. They're on their way to a match at Blood and Guts. So they had a match. Callis, let's go to the interference. Don Callis comes in. He hates Kenny Omega for some unknown reason still that we don't know yet.
That doesn't make any sense still, but
I guess he just did a lot for him and he didn't feel like he got enough in return, is what I gather. But still,
well, yeah, you have to gather yourself because he can't explain it.
Yes, that's what I gather. That's as much as I could gather from this. Anyway, so he distracts the referee and then Takeshita interferes from the back. But even with interference, Omega still overcomes and wins clean. So it was kind of dumb for that. I don't know. I don't know about having the heels interfere and then not even that it doesn't even work. Like, why would you let him take the pinfall then? It should be at ringside. And when NWO never let their boys take the pinfall. We're back on the show. We had some technical difficulties, but yes, we were on the main event. Right when Wheeler Yuta took the pinfall, and how I was saying that a real heel stable will never let their boy take a pinfall like that, and they're all just hanging around the side, just watching him take a fucking one-winged angel and get pinned. Okay. Yeah. So the aftermath.
Well, if you're gonna attack the guy after the match, anyways, why not attack him as he's about to win the match, right? So that's a good point.
Yeah, if you're gonna lose by DQ. Don't get pinned clean. Come on. I gotta teach these guys. We gotta teach these guys how to wrestle, bro. How long have you been wrestling?
Yeah, what the heck? How long? You guys had to be real heels.
Yeah, bro. Don't take a clean pinfall, jackass. Yeah. Anyways, so here's some weird stuff after the match too. So after their boy lost, Claudio and Takeshita get in to beat down Kenny. Right, so they're beating him down. I couldn't count how long, for a little while, and then here comes the Elite.
Yeah.
And Hangman Page, who's in the Elite now, So what the hell were they doing backstage? Again, these guys like Wild Callis and everybody's coming out to fuck with this match, and they're doing what? They're just like shooting. Maybe they were shooting being the elite, and that's more important than helping their boy. So I don't know. Another logical error that I thought was kind of screwed up.
Bro, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what they're. Yes, you're definitely right. There's a lot of illogical stuff going on in AEW all the time, but this is a good point.
So they came out and helped. Where the hell were they? And then when Adam Page was gonna hit Claudio with a steel chair, and then Dark Order comes out, and they stop him, and I'm like, why are these guys even involved in this angle at the end of the show? At the very last second, here comes Dark Order, like there's somebody important. So
exactly.
Yikes to this whole show, pretty much. Okay, I mean, here's some stuff that I didn't even mention.
Yeah.
Acclaimed against some jobbers from India or something. Moxley wants Kingston to call him back. Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett, not Jeff Hardy, because they were like, oh, you've been drawn with Jeff. It's like, oh, cool, Jeff Jarrett. Oh. And then Don Callis offers Jericho to join his stable. I guess
I think that one was worth mentioning, but yes.
I don't even think that's worth mentioning. I don't even care about that. I thought it was an awful segment. The whole thing from Jericho's promo to just at the end, he's like, join our stable, and Jericho goes, maybe.
I mean, I don't know, why is Jericho all of a sudden like the nice face guy? Like, he doesn't even know what he is or where he is or what he's doing anymore. Is he a face? He doesn't know, man. Anyways,
good point, because it's like, what the hell is going on with him? I mean, it hasn't been good for a long while. The whole JS is kind of stupid. They might be dissolving it soon, because he had a little segment with Daniel Garcia telling him, hey, you guys got to start flying on your own, man. You know, I can't be here forever. And he told your hands, which fucking made them look stupid as fuck. But but okay, they've always looked a little stupid, so okay, whatever.
Anyways, wakes up and he looks stupid. So
we don't have to give grades anymore for these shows, man. I know
I'll give it a grade. It's a D. I have to give it a grade. It's slightly better than last week's show, which was an abomination that should have been, put in the toilet. This was just a bit better than last week's show.
Oh god, there was so much that I skipped over. I didn't even really care much to.
So this was last week's. I gave a D-. This was a D. You could go back and forth on the crappy of each of those shows, and if you want to debate that this one was worse than last week's, that's fine. But no, I think this week's was better overall. But again, it's marginal at best, and at the end of the day, the shows are pretty goddamn awful.
I mean, the only thing worth watching from this show was, what was even worth watching? Let me see. MJF and Adam Cole. I guess that's the only segment that I would show someone. I'd be like, okay, this is part of a major storyline. Other than that,
the one thing I did want to bring up, and I think is, to kind of play both, like to be even, because yes, Dynamite is really bad, but is Collision actually a better show, or is it also pretty bad? I think that also warrants some discussion, because it's like, right, it's like two different wrestling shows.
Yeah, they're competing with each other.
They're kind of competing with each other in a way, because one is more supposed to be kind of based on some realism, even though they kind of trickle in some of that stuff from Dynamite into Collision. But and then Dynamite is like the wacky friends wrestling, Dark Order, Elite, Moxley, just doing insane stuff throughout the night, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's like.
Well, if you ask me, which show I could watch.
Well, yeah, which show would you prefer to watch?
Yeah, like if I had to only watch one show, if you put a gun to my head and said, look, you can only choose one.
Yeah.
Based on the last 3 weeks, I think I would choose Dynamite, because Dynamite is it's more of a train wreck, it's more random, it's more exciting.
Yeah, that's
true.
And
Collision really hasn't had the payoff that they're kind of been promising. I mean, it's more realism, more serious, the commentators are better, but they haven't. Sure. In that case, if you're going to have like a realistic, like mostly kind of normal wrestling show, there needs to be, like we discussed this earlier, there needs to be a payoff. And there hasn't been one, and And I don't know if this whole thing with Punk is, I don't know where they're going with this. I don't see anything on the horizon that I'm interested in. So
Right.
I would choose Dynamite just mostly because of the car crash nature of it. But
Yeah, I think as far as I mean, I see your point because there's more to discuss with Dynamite because it's so outrageous sometimes and so insane that like it warrants more of a discussion. Where Collision, yeah, sure, some of the stuff is solid, but what more can you say about it? Like nothing exciting is happening there, so it's
yeah,
like yeah, sure, but okay, and like there's nothing really to discuss there. I don't think at least
yeah,
that's my opinion. Like, but I think that's the problem that I've always had with what they call territory wrestling and their weekly shows. Like, yeah, I understand what the point, how they did it before, but it's going to be hard to kind of implement that into today's modern world of
yeah.
wrestling.
People don't really have the attention span. There's got to be a little bit of a faster pace to it.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
and I think there needs to be a little bit more. I'm not saying make it like insane
yeah.
like Dynamite, but they need to give us a little bit more excitement. Okay. So, but okay. Listen, I was worried if we would really get any discussion today this week. That's why I kind of introduced that past
How
discussion
you
about
started,
how we started
how I,
watching. But I
yeah.
think we got some decent, wrestling debate going on here today. I think it was a
Yeah.
good show. I mean, we didn't have our clips to fall back on,
Right.
but
You don't want to give a grade for Dynamite? You don't want to give any grade?
I mean, I'm with you. It was pretty much like a
A
D
D?
plus, D
Oh,
plus
D plus.
maybe.
D plus.
I don't know. Yeah, D plus. I mean, some of the stuff in the beginning with Darby and Keith Lee, I didn't hate as much as you. And Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. I don't know. I think they're gonna have a feud, which is I don't love it, but I think it's okay. I think
Having a feud.
they
Haven't
can
even.
no. I mean, they're gonna have a match. They need to have a big
Oh, man.
final battle. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
good.
I think
Good.
they can do a good match together. So
Yeah. Maybe.
that was fine to me. Yeah, other than that, it was just MJF and Adam Cole, and other the rest of it was really nothing, just a bunch of
Yeah.
fluff. So, I mean,
Yeah,
Jungle Boy had a segment with Hook, but I think it was
oh, yeah, yeah.
pre-taped. But,
Yeah, it was a pre-tape where he got out and then jumped right back into the car.
yeah. They probably did that last week when they were doing the other stuff
Yeah,
with the.
I think so. I think they filmed that all on the same day for sure. It looked
Yeah.
like it.
So yeah, I mean, I don't really count that as part of anything positive on the show. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do we have to look forward to right now? Is there anything on AEW that we have to look forward to?
No.
We're waiting. We're kind of waiting. We're just waiting for something here. So.
Well, I'm hopeful something interesting happens on Collision. Right now, I would say the show.
Oh, Joe and Punk, right? That's what we have to look forward to.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be good. But I think the shows have been mostly like somewhere between like a B minus to C's for Collision. I haven't really, there've been 3 shows. Oh, I see. Like I said, for the reasons that we've discussed, like nothing really interesting or exciting happens there. It's just like, yeah, some of the work is good, something, but that's about it. So, I want to be fair, not just that I'm only criticizing Dynamite. I criticize both their shows for different reasons, and and that's pretty much it. I just want to be fair. Like I don't want people to think that Vlad's clearly on Team Punk. He's a Cornette fan. He's obviously going to be a Collision supporter because, well, yes and no. Yes, I am more of a Punk fan and a Cornette supporter and whatever have you. But I'm going to be fair. So, yeah, Collision hasn't been, that great either. So we'll see. We'll see
All
how
right.
it goes.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I mean, we're not with Cornette on this. We're Cornette fans for the most part, but I think he's.
I even think Cornette would say that nothing amazing is happening. I don't think.
I think he's been kind of cornered into a box where he has to praise these shows because they kind of give him what he wants. There's nothing really stupid, and they've got regular commentators, and it's like, okay, what can Cornette say bad about this? It's like, this is what you've been wanting this whole time, right?
Yeah, but in that case, what bad can you say about like stuff like Raw, where they don't give you anything at all either? Yeah, they give the work is solid, and that's pretty much
Raw
it.
is the highest rated wrestling show in the country,
I thought
isn't it?
SmackDown was the highest rated.
Is it? Oh, you're right, SmackDown, because it's on Fox. But before it was on Fox, Raw would be the highest rated.
Raw was always the #1 show up until I think SmackDown moved to Fox. I think that's right.
All right. Well, on that note, Vlad, let's call it a show. Let's wrap it up. At least we got the job done. episode
We did.
16, man. One day we're
We
gonna
did.
be like, we're gonna be at our episode 1000, and we're gonna have
Oh
a
my
big
God, I can't even
celebration.
I can't believe we've done 16 shows. I can't believe we've discussed AEW, or not just AEW, but wrestling in general for 16. I never thought that I'd be doing a wrestling podcast. If you told me like 5 years ago that we'd be doing a wrestling podcast, I would have laughed in your face. Like, no
Yeah.
way, man. I think that's passed me by, but yeah, here we are. Talking
You have too much knowledge, Vlad, not to share it with the people. Too
I
much.
have some knowledge. You know, there's
You're the wrestling expert, man.
Oh,
You're
well,
the wrestling expert.
I try my best. I try my best.
Putting you over, Vlad. Putting you over. All right, man. Let's call it a night. I'm going
All
to
right.
bed.
Yeah,
It's
me too,
late.
man.
I'm tired. I had a long day. It was really busy at work. It was actually pretty hard. Like, that's where I watch a lot of my wrestling, in between when there's not much to do. But today there was a lot to do, so I'm
A lot to do. Yeah.
I'm like dead tired. See, every time I do these shows, I could barely open my eyes. But we got it done. All right, man. Good show. Thank you for coming on. Till the next week.
Yeah,
Hopefully
man.
we'll
Take
see you
care.
again. All right, dude.
See ya.
Later.
Later.